Well, hello there, and welcome back to the very latest episode of my Love Machine podcast. Now, before I start, I would just like to say to anyone that's listening, please do send me your thoughts and feedback on these podcasts and tell me what you're thinking about them. And if there's any topics you'd love me to cover in the future. I get so many emails from people who tell me that it's made a difference to their lives. I want to hear from the rest of you. Let me know, tell me what you think, what works, what doesn't work, who would you like to have back on here? Just let me know. The email address to reach me is info@jamespreece.com. It's on the podcast link, hopefully. And if you're listening on anywhere like Spotify or iTunes, click the links, you'll find me. And you can reach me on social media, James Preece Coach, or through my website, jamespreece.com. So thank you. That's a rare thing, a little note at the start of my podcast to everyone listening. I don't normally do that, but I've meant to do this for some time. So there we go. So today, I've got a very, very important topic. It is called powerful self-love strategies. Now, for those that know my podcast, I've covered this a little bit already on the podcast before, but everyone has different stories, and it's probably the most important part of any dating advice or starting relationships. Self-love is the key to everything, and it's a very hard thing to do. We find it really hard in life to accept ourselves because others tend to shape the way that we see ourselves in life. As soon as we come into this world, our caregivers strongly influence who we become. They shape us, or at least our perception of ourselves, from the very moment that we're born. And the way that our parents interact with us and our friends and everything along our life just completely influences us and makes it really, really hard to feel and understand ourselves in the way that we should. And self-love is never going to be easy. And making yourself a priority is probably the best tip I can give you. But to help me talk about this wonderful topic, I am thrilled to be joined by the wonderful Diana Noble. And she is a self-love coach. Now, Diana has overcome addiction from alcohol and drugs through extensive work on her mindset and personal development. And she wants to teach other people how to do the same. Diana, how are you doing? Welcome.
Hello, James. This is so exciting. My very first podcast.
It is your first podcast. I'll try and be gentle with you. That's why I did a little intro about something else at the start to make you feel more relaxed, just to go through there. So it's so lovely. We talked a little while ago about doing this, and I'm really pleased to have you. You're such an amazing, powerful story, how you've turned your life around. So can you tell everyone, just before we start, what is your life story to this point? What's brought you here?
Well, it all started. Well, I'm ex-military. So I was in the Royal Navy as a helicopter engineer for 10 years from the age of 19. And through that, obviously, with the Navy, there's a massive alcohol sort of, fueled environment, very masculine environment as well. So, yeah, I spent 10 years sort of escaping through alcohol. And yeah, it just sort of, I was just sick of it by the end of it. So I left the Navy and sort of sought my life outside of the Navy. And I'm still an engineer. I'm still very much in the masculine sort of world. But I think through lockdown, and I know it's a lot for a lot of people, it was a massive awakening for a lot of people. And yeah, so I started my own self-love journey through sort of meditation and gratitude, obviously listening to podcasts like I've told you before. That massively helped me. I don't know about yourself, but I listen to loads of podcasts. And yeah, so I listened to a lot of self-development podcasts, and I thought, wow, there is a way out, there is a way of not feeling like I need to escape from life. I was very self-conscious about my body. And I thought, I'm just fed up of berating my body, feeling the way I'm feeling, just waking up in a very negative mindset all the time. And I thought there's got to be a way out. So I started listening to self-development podcasts and following a lot of influential people online, which I think is massive because we always follow sort of the fitness, side of things, and we're always comparing ourselves on social media. So I deleted all that and started following inspirational people. And yeah, I thought, wow, there's a way out. And I started my own self-development journey, realized that coaching was a big thing in America, and it's slowly getting bigger up here. I know it's not that big over here just yet, but I can feel it's going to be massive eventually. And yeah, Gina Swire, who's my coach and mentor, she's an absolutely beautiful, beautiful woman. She then released a coaching program. So I was like, wow, yes, I really, really need to do this in my life. And so, yeah, I've just finished a 3-month extensive coaching academy course. really, like, just so I can put my self-love journey, because life is our biggest teacher as well, isn't it? And yeah, so I can help other women transform their lives by confronting their limiting beliefs, habits and blocks, and step into the best version of themselves. So yeah, I'm really excited to get on with my future. I'm just so excited about it all.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that with me. I know that people do have these struggles and issues in their life. Everyone has their own doubts in their mind. Everyone's scared of rejection. Everyone compares themselves to the next person. I do it myself, and I am an expert in the field for 17 years. I'm comparing myself to other experts, other people on TV, thinking, why can't I do that? What's wrong with me? What do I have over them? And it can lead to all sorts of confusion and jealousy. Luckily, I can deal with this. I know my own value. I've worked on that a lot. But it still comes into your mind. Niggling thoughts always pop into your brain, no matter how strong and secure you are. Would you agree with that?
Yes, definitely. And it's like you said at the beginning, the podcast, we've all been, I call it the spiritual self and the human self. And our human self, it's basically from when we were younger, I think it's from the ages of about 8 to our teenage years. We are influenced by our primary caregivers, like you said, our friends, who we hang out with, and that all leads to us having issues in later life. So we're all still reliving those traumas, big or small, in later on in life. So, through triggers, I still get massively triggered, but it's having the awareness of those triggers, and so say, my boyfriend doesn't do the washing up. That really gets to me, and I don't know why. It's stupid. But I remember as a child, my dad, he's ex-military as well, and everything had to be in its place. I had to do the washing up, I had to do a lot of chores around the house, and yeah, it all stems from that. And it's just having the awareness of that really helps, and also journaling is massive for that as well. So if ever you do have these things come up, like, comparing yourself, the triggers, writing all this sort of stuff down is really good, and getting it out there, out into the world, onto paper, and just realizing where all this has all come from. The awareness is massive.
It's funny, journaling is the one thing that comes up on the podcast almost every single time. And I can't do it. Those that listen to this know I can't do journaling. I really need to try and do it. I've got a journal here. I used to show people on my guest my blank journal. I went as far as buying one, but it's now buried in a pile of other things that I need to get done on my left-hand side. Books that I show people for when I have my client sessions, notes I need to fill in, notes I've made about my clients, things people have sent me through the post, like gifts and things. They're all in my pile here. But I think journaling is a really, really powerful thing for some people, but not for everybody, in the same way that meditation can be as well.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we're all different, and it's how we handle things. We all deal with things very differently. Like you said, I'm not a big fan really of journaling, but once I do it, I'm like, wow, that was really powerful. Why don't I keep doing this? So I definitely recommend it, James.
I know. I do make lists. I make notes of things I have to do. That's my way of journaling. My thoughts is, I've got to do this today, do this week. This is today, this is next week. If I don't set goals, I don't really remember them. Although I've got a very good memory, a lot of things stay in my mind. And you probably experience this well with your clients. When you're working with people's emotions, they stay with you afterwards. You want to be successful, and their pain stays with you for a little while. You have to cleanse that. But only coaches really understand that. People who don't do that, well, I work during the day, go home, that's the end of it. But to us, we take this with them because we have to live their lives in the past to make sure that their future is the best way possible.
Exactly.
So let's talk about triggers and the most common issues people have when they're growing up. And I know you had yours that led you to take drugs and to drink, and you mentioned your body as well. But what are the most common triggers that you see with your clients?
The most common triggers is rejection triggers. The feeling of rejection, that is massive. Not feeling like they're good enough, that's a massive one as well. Just the body as well. So if like I've organised for a bunch of women to come with me to an aqua park. So I don't know whether you've seen stuff like Total Wipeout, you're in a swimming costume. Yes. And I've organised for a few of us women to go, and a lot of the women have turned around and said they don't want to go, and that's obviously triggered them. And I've just messaged them saying, why don't you want to go? And it's very upsetting because they said that they're fat, that they're going to look like a whale, blah, and it's really, really upsetting stuff to hear. And this is why I do what I do, because women are missing out on these opportunities because of these triggers, because of these, these beliefs they have about themselves. And it's very upsetting, and they are stopping themselves having fun, attending events that they really want to go to, but because they've got these beliefs about themselves and self-esteem issues, they're not doing what they really want to do. So that's a lot of triggers as well, and dealing with these triggers, it's like I said, it's going back to the past, realizing where it's all come from. So I'm going to tell you a story now about me, about my body. I went on to a school trip. I think I was about 10 years old, and we all went to a water park. And I've always been on the curvaceous side as a child. I was always on the bigger side. I was always bigger than the other kids. And I got stuck. I can laugh about it now, but at the time, obviously, it was quite traumatized. But I got stuck down one of those big water slides.
Okay. Yeah.
I just remember all of the kids laughing at me, and I had to shimmy myself down this water slide, making a lot of noise, and it really traumatized me as a child. And I had massive self-confidence issues with my body and stuff, growing up because of that event. And now I've looked back and, I've obviously recognized that it happened because of that event. I was always curvaceous. I was always called fat as a child, getting bullied as I was growing up. And because I've realized this, and now I'm doing my work, I'm not bothered. That was their issue. They're the kids, they like to take the mick out of people, and I've now grown into this person where I can go and wear a bikini on the beach. I'm going to a water park with a load of women, this is what I'm organizing, and it's amazing. And I've messaged the women that are coming, that don't want to come because of their weight, and I've just said, look, I do this work, I really think you benefit, and I've had a few people say, yes, I'd love that, because I don't want to stop doing what I want to do because of my self-esteem issues.
How do you get through that? If you've got that block in your mind that you don't look good, don't want to go and do this, how do you make yourself do that and put yourself with the potential for ridicule?
So with the work that I do with women, we do a lot of mirror work. So a lot of women can't look in the mirror. I never be able to used to look in the mirror, and just I've got a mirror right here actually, that I did a lot of work in, and just to look at yourself. And it's all about acceptance of the body at first, because you're not going to look in the mirror and go, wow, you're beautiful, if you don't truly believe that. It's the same with affirmations. If you're very triggered by things and you're saying, I am strong, I am beautiful, it's sort of counterintuitive in the brain. So it takes a long time for people to actually then believe that, I do a lot of mirror work, and it's all about body acceptance first. And also what I do is I do visualization, so future visualization. So if I'm going to look at a bar of chocolate, I say, would future Diana do that? Would future Diana, who you want to step into, want that chocolate bar or that massive birthday cake, And I do a lot of visualization as well for the future self, which is very, very powerful, stepping into that person who you want to become. And it's beautiful. It's watching the transformation is amazing. The women sending me photos of them in a bikini on a beach, loving life. And you've got to realize as well that people, whoever ridicules you, that's on them. So if you are triggered by other people, I used to sit on the beach, and if someone was laughing in the distance, I used to think, oh my God, they're laughing at me because I'm sat here in a swimming costume. And it wasn't the case at all. And it's important to remember, we play things massively over exaggerated in our brains, in our minds. Remember, our brain is to keep us safe, not happy. And also, it's just plays out. It's not even happening. We always dramatize things within our minds, and it's not necessarily true. Our thoughts aren't facts, and I love that. Our thoughts aren't facts. Going off that, it's just so liberating. And if people do take the mickey out of you, that is on them. It's not on you at all. It's their own insecurities that they need to work on. If I saw someone walking down the street, with a bizarre haircut or, dressed a bit, eccentric, I used to be that person who used to look at them and be like, what the hell, but now I admire them. I think it's brilliant. People can express themselves, and they're not caring what other people think. And it's so, so liberating and freeing for those people, good on them, and when they're walking down the street, I just want to say, that's amazing. I love your look,
If you did say that to them, it'll make their day, wouldn't it?
Yes, exactly.
That would validate them, and they feel really happy.
Yes. I think we've lost that. We've lost that. If I see a woman wearing a beautiful dress, I will go up to her and say, "I love your dress. Where did you get it?" And sometimes you get people looking at you like, "Who's this weirdo?" But sometimes it makes their day, and that is the whole ripple effect as well, which is massive. Everything we do is a ripple effect. If you said to someone, "I love your outfit," it could make their day, and it ripple effects. They could have been going home, they could be on their way to get a bottle of vodka because they're trying to drown out and escape the world, and you, just by saying that, could potentially stop them doing that. The ripple effect of self-love is massive, and it needs to carry on. It needs to be spread.
Absolutely. Do a good deed every day. Say something nice to everyone. Because I think what's missing nowadays, and people are nervous about this rather than avoiding it, is kindness, being kind to each other. We're scared how someone else is going to react if we are kind to them. And the biggest issue, we're not kind to ourselves anymore. I think self-love and self-care is all about being kind to yourself and realizing we're not perfect. We are who we are. We're in this body. We're in this brain. This is what we're supposed to be. And being the best version we possibly can.
Exactly.
And this is important when it comes to coaching. I always work on that very first thing we do together in our sessions. Working out what you have to offer, what makes you special, and being nice to yourself. And you mentioned just now about having a chocolate bar and almost not having that chocolate bar. Sometimes have the damn chocolate bar.
Exactly.
That's what I tell myself.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, the diet culture really angers me. And I heard a great line the other day. Dieting is not an action, it is a state of mind. Which is so true, and if I want to look after my body, I want to put healthy whole foods into my body. Food is thy medicine, and if I'm eating healthily, everyone's like, "Are you on a diet?" No, I'm just feeding my body what it deserves. And I got on the scales actually for the first time. I was intrigued, and I'd lost weight. Just not even watching what I was eating, just eating. And if I wanted a tub of Ben and Jerry's, I had the tub of Ben and Jerry's, If I want it, I'll have it. But, waking up, even the small changes. So I started off with just having a glass of water in the mornings because I didn't drink enough water. And I just started off in the mornings, put a glass of water next to my bed. And I just used to wake up and just down that glass of water. It all starts with little habits, and over time it compounds and it turns into something beautiful,
It does. It's starting with something small and then building upon it. Like any sort of plant, we've got to nurture it and water it. And that is us. We are nurturing, watering ourselves. And you are watering yourself by having that water. And I try and do that. And sometimes I put a pinch of salt in it, or I put a lemon juice in it, whatever I can do. But quite often I'll have that followed by a coffee because the coffee is still an important part of my ritual. Because you have to. But your body's getting, if you start with a coffee, that is toxic on your body to start with first thing in the morning. Have the water, do that. The body's thinking that's wonderful. I've replenished myself, and then have the coffee.
Exactly. I do exactly the same, James.
Yeah, it's normal. It's human behaviour.
Exactly.
You do it because you enjoy the coffee and you enjoy the ritual of having the coffee. Don't get me started on the coffee. I spent a lot of my time is spent telling my single clients not to go for coffee on a first date. That's another story. It's the most low effort thing you can go on. Having coffee. But won't put that. The reason is people have coffee anyway. People drink water anyway. You wouldn't say let's go for a glass of water on a first date, would you? That sounds really exciting. We won't go and do that. I put some lemon juice in for you.
I think starting your morning and starting it the right way is massive as well. I don't know whether you've read the book Miracle Morning, but it is absolutely incredible. And if you start your day off great, you do your gratitude, which we'll cover in a second. You do your gratitude, in your meditation, like you said earlier, people do things differently, and I'm the same. I don't sit there cross-legged with my hands, and I just sit out in my garden with my coffee. And I just close my eyes and take a couple of deep breaths and just appreciate, listening to the birds. It's how you want to do things, meditation. Everyone's like, oh, I don't want to do that. It only has to be 2 minutes, it doesn't have to be, half an hour, you can build up to that eventually. But if you want to, it's how you want to do things. And the Miracle Morning, guys, if you haven't read it, read it. It's amazing.
I completely agree with you there. It's just doing a reset and restarting your brain and having a moment to yourself, looking around. I did it last night. I sat in the garden about 10:30 in the evening. It was getting a bit dark, but lovely lights, solar powered lights in the garden. And I was there with a glass of water looking around thinking, this is really lovely. listening to dogs barking in the distance and babies crying. That's exaggeration. Normally it's my babies crying, but they're a bit older now. They don't cry quite as much. Although it was very, very hot last night and they were awake all night long. That wasn't very good for self-love. When you are trying to sleep with screaming going on. Putting that aside, I think you're right. Rituals of some sort every day and routines are really important. Do you have any other daily rituals that you have?
So I wake up and I do my gratitude. So this is massive. When I first started, I was like, what the hell is all this about? You know, people telling me to write 3 things I'm grateful for. And I never really felt into them. And this is a saying that I love. Doing it once or twice is nice, but doing it every day is a life practice. And it is so true. So I carried on doing it for, I think it was about a month. And then even in everyday life, you walk out, I walk the dogs down the canal, and I just look around and I'm just so grateful. It trains your subconscious and it comes out and it's just amazing. You just look around. I've got a tree in my garden. I admire that tree. I'm so grateful for the tree, and it's just amazing. Once you find gratitude, you cannot unsee it. And it's so worth that. Practice is my number one, I think, for practicing self-love is gratitude.
I agree. I do it every day myself, but I do it in my head. I don't write down lists. It's in my head. I think all the things I have to be grateful for, all the things I like about my life and things I like doing, how lucky I am to do this, and reminding yourself that I'm in a very good situation, that I can do this and help people and have the freedom and flexibility I didn't have before. They're very, very important. But I've talked about gratitude a few times before on the podcast, but what I've never really done is given examples of what you could say that you're grateful for. I've given a few things there. Can you give some other examples of things that people might say they're grateful for, just to help sort of the ball rolling?
When I tell my clients to do their gratitude, I've had one client say, well, I've got nothing to be grateful for, but you have. Start off small. So even if it's like things like the water coming out of my taps, the roof over my head, the fact that I've got covers covering me at night time, just start off small and then work your way up. I'm very grateful for my dog, my boyfriend, just the sun, even though it's absolutely boiling at the minute. But yeah, I'm just grateful that I've got shade to sit in, and I've got a sun lounger I can relax on. It's just little things like that it just compounds and it just makes it beautiful. And you just look around and you just become grateful for everything in your life.
I'm glad you said that, because I completely agree with you. Even when clients out to me, I said, but you're sitting there at home, so you've got the flexibility from working from home. You've got fast internet. You've got that. You've got a webcam. And I think when I do my own gratitude list, I think, well, I've got fast internet. I've got a good mobile phone. I've got all these different things. Everything adds up, like you said. I think the fact I've got food in my fridge and don't have to worry where the next meal's coming from. I've got savings in my bank account. I've got a nice car. Little things, even little smaller things. I've got a summer house I can go and sit if I want to. I've got a nice garden. It's a quiet area. It's a safe area. It's dark at night. All these things come together. The more that you mentioned just now at compounds, the more you start to think about it, the easier it becomes. Exactly. Like anything, trying to think the first time round, what am I grateful for? I don't know. I'm a bit depressed, a bit fed up. It's very difficult. But when you start doing that, I think start with 3, next day get 5, and add to it every single day. And over time, the list can be added to if you are writing it down. If I started adding one thing every day, I'd probably have an incredibly long list in my head, and it probably caused me OCD. So maybe we won't do that.
And it's like this podcast as well, how grateful I am to do the work that I'm doing and you for doing the work you do. Like people listening to this podcast, how much will they take out of it? The ripple effect of this podcast, and just being grateful that we've got this opportunity to help these people. And it's so desperately needed this day and age. And I'm just completely grateful to be on this podcast with you, James, as well.
That's nice. And I'm grateful to have you here with me, giving up your time to do it. So that's important. People give up their time to come on the podcast to reach other people. So everyone that's listening, remember that. Everyone that's doing this, doing it for you. We want to make your life different and to boost it. So if you are listening, do give us your thoughts and feedback. Reflecting back to my initial first question to the audience, let me know you're listening. Let us know, interact with us on social media. We'll come on to this towards the end and they'll be able to explain, Diana, how they can get hold of you. But we'll come on to that shortly. I think rituals are a very, very important part of self-love, because doing nice things for yourself. It can be small things. It can be having the chocolate bar every now and again, not for every meal.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And it is the small things people often mention, like having a nice bath and all these things. But then we do these things anyway. So we need to go beyond this. It's booking nice things. You mentioned you go for a walk with your dogs. That's a nice thing to do. It's reflective. You can go out and get some exercise. And then going outside is one of the best things you can do. Maybe not right now because of this heat wave, which will be over hopefully by the time this gets launched in a few weeks' time. But they remember the heat wave. Anyone in the, I think it's all over the world, this heat wave at the moment, isn't it? I know in parts of the US they've got this, lots of my listeners are there, and they're having the heat wave. It's just very, very strange time. But in that case, stay inside and enjoy yourself and do
Yeah.
If you want to eat ice cream and Ben and Jerry's, do it. That's what I've been doing. It's been hot. It's been hot. My wife likes it.
Oh yeah, I don't know how people are sitting out in this, but yeah, it's very hot.
It is. What else do you think people can do to work on their self-love?
So a big thing for me was conscious language. So, you know, waking up in the morning, oh, I can't be bothered. I can't do this. Oh, I've got to go to work. That is all disempowering words. Now, this was massive to me. So I catch people doing it now, and I catch myself before I even speak them out now. You know, when I go on my Facebook lives, I used to go on and say, sorry, I look like shit today, you know, and no, you don't say that, you know, don't say it out loud to the world. And also with these ladies that are obviously coming to this aqua park, you know, oh, I'm too fat to come. Stop saying that. Words are spells. And if you're speaking it out to the world, it becomes the truth. And I'm massive on that. And I catch all my friends doing it. I catch my clients and I'm like, is that a fact? That's what I stop and say. Is that a fact? And it's not a fact. And conscious language is massive. And, you know, start switching it from I can't to I get to, you know, switching it up and making it more empowering. And don't speak it. Spelling has spell inside of it, you know. And so conscious language is massive as well. So even if you catch yourself saying it, just be aware and just don't be saying it again. You know, I'm too fat, I'm too ugly. Stop saying it out loud, you know. And I think that's massively powerful. And I catch myself doing it still, but I'm like, naughty Diana, you know, stop saying that, you know.
You know, I do it sometimes because I do a lot of Zoom calls for people, and often I think my hair's a bit too long, a bit of a mess, so I'm sorry, my hair, I need a haircut right now. And it sort of breaks the ice a little bit. Self-depreciation, it breaks the ice. This guy's not going to be full of himself straight away. But my wife hears me say this sometimes. Now, she can't hear what the person's saying because they've got headphones on. And she always hears me saying this. So why are you telling people you need to get a haircut? Why are you saying this about yourself? You know, why are you saying you're a bit sweaty? Why are you saying these things? They don't need to know all that. And she's very much right. And as I catch myself saying these things sometimes, but I think I'm just open and honest as I can be. And sometimes too open and honest. But you're right, conscious language is really, really important. The story we tell ourselves, we need to tell ourselves good stuff and be very supportive of ourselves, isn't we, really?
Exactly. Yeah. And it is a big thing. And another thing is forgiveness, you know, forgiving yourself for, so I was with a partner, we'll get onto relationships a little bit as well. I was with the partner when I was younger, 19, and he cheated on me with my best friend. And yeah, that was massive, but I forgave him. Well, I thought I forgave him, went back to him, tried going back to him. And it really messed with my head, that whole scenario. And I didn't realise, but in the back of my head, that was still there. That was still as trauma. And I call it, they get trapped in the trauma capsule in the back of your brain. I do a lot of forgiveness work with my clients because all these traumas, big or little traumas, Gabby Bernstein's book, Happy Days, brilliant for traumas, if you need to read that, guys. But yeah, it gets trapped in this trauma capsule in the back of your brain. And that plays out, you know, into everyday life, into your triggers. And doing forgiveness for myself and for him, you know, and I do, like, you know, I write out, I'm yet to forgive myself for. And this is massive. Gina Swire, my mentor, she taught me how to do this. It's huge, you know, forgiving yourself for putting up with that behavior, you know, for trying to forgive him when he didn't deserve to be forgiven, and going back to him. So forgiveness is a massive part of self-love as well. So if you've had like an abusive, you know, relationship, or you've had, you know, abusive parents back in the past, that will still be playing out into everyday life. And to forgive them, even though, you know, they don't deserve to be forgiven, but to forgive them and free up that space inside your head is massive, because it allows positive things to come in. You know, holding on to that bitterness, you know, from the past is very, very toxic, and it plays out into your everyday life. So forgiveness is a massive, massive thing in self-love as well, you know, freeing up that space for good to come in. And even if you just write in a letter, you don't have to give it to them. You know, you just write a letter to them, just explaining everything that's happened. And then at the end, say, I forgive you. And then even flush it down the toilet. Obviously, if it's on a toilet roll, no, don't do paper down the toilet. But
I'm getting to burn it in the garden.
Yeah, burn it as well. So yeah, so stuff like that, you know, just to release that, you know, that anger inside. I had a lot of forgiveness that I needed to release, and it's just freed up for so much beautiful things to come into my life.
Yeah, I recommend that to all my clients who've got some sort of bad relationship history. I don't always recommend sending that letter or the email. Just get it for yourself and then burning it. It symbolizes the ash and everything, all symbolizes sort of starting again. And it's really, the smoke rising, it's going off to where it needs to go and sorting yourself out and cleansing. It's really important, but it's not so much the fact that you want them to give you an answer and apologize for this, because if they did, it's worthless now, isn't it? It's the fact you're saying, you know what, it doesn't matter to me anymore. I forgive you. Go and be happy. Then you can be happy.
Totally. Yes. And it's so powerful. And I did this with the client. She had an abusive ex, and you could just tell from the way she was speaking, he was just playing out in her mind the whole time. And I said to her, I said, please, just write a letter to him. Don't give it to him. Just write a letter. And she did it. And she messaged me after and she went, wow. She said, that felt amazing. And I just said, look, notice how you transform from now on. Now you're working through it. It's very confronting, self-love. You know, the self-love journey is very confronting, because you do need to face these things head on, you know, and forgiveness is massive, and it's very confronting. It can be very emotional and upsetting, but emotion is energy in motion, and it's allowing these emotions to come through and it can move through the body and out, and feeling these emotions is very confronting. And I get that, you know, I was very confronting with the forgiveness ritual that we do, and but once it's over, it's amazing, and it just frees up so much beautiful stuff to come into your lives. You're
right. When you've got this in your mind, it's playing on your mind the whole time, then it's gonna make you ill in some way. It's gonna cause knots in your stomach, headaches, sickness, nausea. By releasing it and letting it go, your body can just relax a lot more. Like you said, you're right. You can relax and you can really start to embrace who you really are.
Exactly. Yeah.
It goes back to being kind to yourself, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's massive. And another thing is boundaries. Now, I obviously coming from a very, you know, alcohol fueled sort of past, I've made a load of my friendships through alcohol. So I've still sort of in touch with them, but we've sort of lost touch now, because obviously I've gone down this route where, you know, alcohol isn't a priority for me. You know, I don't need to have a drink to have fun. So setting boundaries. So now they're all inviting me to parties still, festivals, and it's not aligned with me anymore. So I just kindly say that is not aligned with me anymore. I'm not going to be going. And yes, I've lost, you know, a lot of friends. And it can be a pretty lonely journey, you know, moving through this transition into the new higher self. But, you know, setting these boundaries, even with your family, you know, having a negative sort of family, you know, just keeping them at arm's distance, you know, and just not letting the negativity get to you is massive. And just setting healthy boundaries is a massive thing for self-love too.
It really is. That's very important. I teach people as well. It's good to mention that about friendships. If your friendships are toxic, end them. We don't normally have people all the time that stay with us for every part of our life.
Exactly.
Even childhood friends, they often have their own lives, have their own families. They don't really see you very much. How many people you're in touch with now, say on Facebook, that you're in touch with, never actually seen for the last 10 years? So many people. They're not important to you. If someone is negative to you, or someone even now is close to you, get rid of them and someone else will replace them.
Exactly.
You have an attractive personality and you love yourself and you're confident. Other people of good nature who are like-minded will be attracted to like a magnet.
Exactly.
Attraction, isn't it? That's the
exactly. And your life is a play, and it's who you want to be the main characters within your play that makes all the difference. You know, and like you said, friendships come and go. You know, and I have been lonely, but I know it's going to be. I've met so many like-minded people now, and it lights me up, and it's just amazing. And just know that you will come out the other side, and you'll meet some beautiful people on the way.
You will do, and they will come to you when you're ready.
Exactly.
And they're aligned to you in the right way. And you need someone that's going to be supportive of you, not jealous of what you do and trying to influence you because they feel bad about themselves.
Yeah. Exactly.
When someone's worked on themselves and they're ready, they will come to you. And it doesn't mean people from the past can't come back. Occasionally they do. I'm not saying ex-partners, that's never a good idea, really. They've had an epiphany, oh no, I've made a mistake now, I've sorted myself out. Not really going to happen because you've got the memories from before. But people do come and go in your life. If you are lonely, do something about it. Well, you sit at home thinking, well, I'm feeling lonely, because everyone's feeling lonely, thanks to the pandemic in particular. But there are so many online and real life events you can go to. I'm recording a podcast today about going out for real life events. That's an important one, because that I used to run singles parties for years and years and years. I haven't run them for a long time, but it's something I want to get back into because meeting people in real life is really good. There are social events if you don't want to do dating. There are meetup groups. There's so much you can do. Lots of people who would love to meet you. But Diana, there's so much wonderful information there you shared. I have to round it up now because our time is up, unfortunately. So can you just tell everyone if they want to get hold of you and find out more about the amazing work you do, how can they do that?
So I'm mainly on Instagram, so it's selflove_Diana if you want to follow me. I've got in-person events coming up. I'll also be having group coaching programs, and I also do one-to-one as well. So if you'd like to work with me, please drop me a DM.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Diana, for giving up your morning with me. It's been an absolute privilege. I'm sure we'll do this again at some point. Hope it wasn't too painful for your first one.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, James. I loved it.
Thank you very much. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. I'd love to give you a free copy of my latest book, which you can download right now from my website, jamespreece.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you could share the love by taking a few seconds to write a positive review on the iTunes store right now. See you next time.